Welcome back to another episode of Inspired by Jimmy L. This particular episode is going to be unique. It's actually designed for someone else. Oh my goodness. It's about dealing with toxic family members. So although what I'm about to tell you is completely a true story, but okay, so I don't think there's a single family that's out there that does not have people within their family that's toxic, that are not necessarily the best for your environment. And I say that very, very lightly because we're all kind of learning along this process of life and in our journeys. And so what may be toxic to me may not be toxic to you. I hope you receive that. So you have to really audit when you use the term toxic. What are you referencing? Are they just no longer serving you in your growth? Are they bringing you down on your spiritual level or mental level? You really have to audit what toxic means. And so I know for me personally, and I've said it countless times, but my husband and I, we've been in this home for a little over 2 years now, and I'm very careful about who I allow into our space. This is our home. And toxic family members or even toxic friends are not allowed, just period. A toxic associates or acquaintances are not allowed. That's just period. For me, toxic is if your life is full of drama on its own, if the police are knocking at your door consistently, if they know you by name, if your children are out of order, and you don't want anyone telling them what to do, that's not welcome into our house. Period. We've worked very hard to get what we have, and I don't just mean the possessions. I mean mentally. Marriage is work. Bringing two lives together is work. Mentally, being able to meditate and get to where I am spiritually. I cannot allow anyone to break down anything that we have built. And so when you say toxic, please audit what do you mean by toxic, okay? And what you're trying to protect. A great example that actually happened earlier this week, or last week. I had a conversation. I started a level of text messages, and a family member text back, and I wasn't able to answer quickly because I do work. I do still have a 9-to-5 job. I still have to go out and do different things for my job. I won't go off into details about that. I travel between different buildings with my job. I still have the videos and podcasting and editing, and I still have a husband, okay? And so all of these things take time, and all of these things, as a person, you know for a fact you don't have time for everything and everybody. So, quote unquote. So then they responded 2 to 3 times to a text message. I didn't respond back. The next day, of course, because they're watching my videos on Instagram, and all this other stuff. A couple of days later, they said, well, I wish your phone could call me. Okay, now your text message just got deleted. Because I don't like your energy around that. For me, that was toxic. Because if I respond, I'm going to respond to you negatively. I'm really busy right now, and I promise you, I will get back to you. But if I respond to you in this moment and in my state that I'm in right now, it's going to be negative. It's going to be toxic. What I found out after the fact was I was making up this whole thing in my mind. I don't have time. Honey, you make time for what you want to make time for. Period. And you entertain what you feel is necessary to be entertained. So at the end of the day, what I'm really saying to you is that family member that you are considering to be toxic most likely isn't. That family member that you're considering as a waste of time or you feel you don't have time for that is realistically an internal battle that you have to deal with, because it has nothing to do with the family member. At the end of the day, if you've heard anything that I've said, even speaking of what we allow and don't allow within our home, speaking of how I responded or didn't respond to my family member in this text message, it had everything to do with me internally. It had nothing to do with them. Nothing. If you feel that someone is toxic in your family or your friends or your circle, it is up to you to create that boundary and set that standard as to what is allowed and not. I truthfully believe that people will only treat you the way that you allow them to treat you. If they're being toxic around you, it's probably because you've allowed it for a period of time. Create that boundary, set your standards, set your rules, and you will be surprised at how people actually respond to you. They will meet your standard. They will. It's inevitable. They will meet your standard. Now, that doesn't mean that you go running up to them and saying, I'm setting a standard and this is what you have to do going forward. No, 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 no. In those moments, real time, if a family member is texting you and you don't feel like being bothered, you can simply not respond. You can respond and say, what you just said to me is inappropriate. I'll get back to you when I can. If a family member is at your home and they're doing something that you feel is toxic to your environment, you stop them in that moment and you say, not in my house. If you're not going to abide by my rules, there's the door. Not in my house. You will not speak to your children like that in my house. Your children will respect me in my house. People will always look to you. In fact, they do always look to you to set the example as to how to treat you. So that toxic member of your family has nothing to do with them. It's all about you, sweetheart. It's all about you. Okay. Woo. So I know that's a little interesting one, a little rant, not far-fetched, but definitely a long-winded conversation. I really hope that you have been inspired. I hope that you can really grasp what I'm telling you. I really hope you can. It has nothing to do with your family. It has everything to do with you. Make sure you are subscribed to the YouTube channel here at the Inspired by Jimmy L. Make sure you're going to check out all of the Friday segments with Inspired by Jimmy L. They're typically about 3 to 5 minutes. And it's a great podcast that you can listen to on your commute to work. So check that out. It's a great way to stay inspired. Stay inspired with Inspired by Jimmy L. At the end of the day, don't do anything, honey, because I've asked you. The Joneses, baby, trying to keep up with the Joneses or do anything to impress me is not worth your time. Period. Do you, honey. Make the best decisions for you. I love you guys as always, and I'll see you on the next episode with the very next question. I'm kind of excited. See ya.